Tom Mitchell stood in the driveway of what was supposed to be his abandoned farmhouse, staring at two blonde women who were standing in front of the property as if they owned the place. Behind them, mountains rose against a clear blue sky, and the old horse corral he'd been planning to restore looked like someone had recently been working on it. He'd bought this property 3 weeks ago at a county auction at a foreclosed ranch house on 15 acres outside of Cedar Valley, Montana. It was meant to be a fresh start for him and his daughter Katie, a place to build a quieter life after the chaos of the city. He'd driven out here once to look it over, filed all the paperwork, and had been finishing up things at his old job before making the move permanent. Now, apparently, he had squatters. Tom got out of his truck slowly, his work boots crunching on the gravel. He was 42, wearing his favorite tread shirt and jeans, and he'd been up since 4 in the morning to make this drive. The last thing he'd expected was to find two women who looked like they'd settled in quite comfortably on his property. "Can I help you ladies?" Tom called out, trying to keep his voice even and polite despite his confusion. The two women turned fully toward him. They appeared to be in their late 20s or early 30s, both with their blonde hair pulled back in practical ponytails, wearing white shirts and dark shorts like they'd been doing ranch work. They looked at each other, then back at him, and Tom could see surprise and wariness in their expressions. "Can we help you?" the taller one said, her arms crossing defensively. "This is private property." Tom blinked. "Yes, it is. It's my private property. I bought this place 3 weeks ago at the county foreclosure auction." The second woman's face went pale. "That's impossible. We've been living here for 6 months. This is our home." "I have the deed in my truck," Tom said, his mind racing. Something wasn't adding up here. "Filed with the county clerk. All legal and proper. The bank foreclosed on this place 8 months ago. It's been sitting empty, which is why I got it for such a good price." "Empty?" The first woman's voice rose slightly. "We've been here every single day, maintaining this place, taking care of the horses." "What horses?" Tom interrupted. "The auction listing said there were no animals on the property." The woman exchanged another glance, and Tom could see something shift in their expression, so from defensive to worried. "I think," the second woman said quietly, "we all need to sit down and figure out what's happened here. I'm Rachel, and this is my sister Rebecca. We're twins, if you couldn't tell." Tom Mitchell. He kept his distance but nodded politely. "And I really do own this property, but I'm willing to listen to your story before I call the sheriff." They moved to sit on the porch steps, the morning sun warm on their backs. Rachel and Rebecca sat close together, clearly nervous, while Tom kept a respectful distance. Up close, he could see the wear on their clothes, the calluses on their hands. These weren't just random drifters, they'd been working hard at something. Rebecca spoke first, her voice steady despite the tremor Tom could hear underneath. "Our father owned this ranch for 35 years. He died suddenly last year, a heart attack, while he was out mending fence. Rebecca and I both live in Seattle, or we did. We came out for the funeral and found out Dad had taken out a second mortgage a few years back when cattle prices dropped. He'd been struggling financially but never told us." Rachel picked up the story. "The bank started foreclosure proceedings. We tried to fight it, but we didn't have the money to pay off the loan. The legal process was confusing, and we might have missed some deadlines. Our lawyer wasn't very good, and we were grieving and trying to handle everything from out of state." "But you said you've been living here for 6 months," Tom said. "If the bank foreclosed, we never got the final notice," Rebecca said, her eyes glistening. "We thought we still had time to figure something out. We both quit our jobs and moved back here 3 months ago, thinking if we could get the ranch running again, maybe we could negotiate with the bank. We've been raising horses, doing everything we could to make this place profitable again." Tom rubbed his face, feeling a headache building. "The horses, where are they?" "In the north pasture, beyond that tree line," Rachel pointed. "We have 6 of them. We've been training them, selling a couple to make ends meet." "We weren't trying to squat, Mr. Mitchell. We honestly thought we still had rights to be here. This was our childhood home." The three of them sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation settling over them. Tom thought about his own daughter, about how hard it had been when his wife died 5 years ago, about scrambling to hold on to their house and their life. He thought about fresh starts and second chances. "Here's what I know for certain," Tom finally said. "I legally own this property. I have the paperwork to prove it. The county says it was abandoned, which means somewhere in the system, you fell through the cracks. I'm sorry about your father, and I'm sorry the process failed you. But I bought this place in good faith." Both women nodded, their faces resigned. Rebecca's voice was barely a whisper. "We understand. We don't have anywhere else to go, but we'll leave. Can you give us a few days to find something and move the horses?" Tom stood up and walked to the edge of the porch, looking out at the property. He could see signs of the work everywhere: the corral that had been repaired, a garden plot that someone had clearly been tending, fresh paint on the barn door. This wasn't an abandoned property at all. These women had been trying to save their family's legacy. "What if," Tom said slowly, an idea forming, "we figured out a different solution?" Both women looked up at him, confused. Tom turned back to face them. "I bought this place because I wanted a fresh start for me and my daughter. I grew up on a ranch in Wyoming, worked in construction for 20 years. But I've always wanted to get back to land work. The thing is, I don't know much about horses. I was planning to run cattle, maybe do some hay farming." "We could teach you," Rachel said quickly, then seemed to catch herself. "I mean, if you wanted to learn. We both grew up training horses. Dad taught us everything." "Here's what I'm thinking," Tom said, the plan becoming clearer in his mind. "I need help getting this place running. You two need a place to live and work. What if you stayed on as ranch managers? You'd have housing, and we'd split the profits from the horse operation. I'd handle the infrastructure repairs and expansion. That's what I'm good at. You'd run the day-to-day horse training and sales." Rebecca stood up slowly. "You'd let us stay after everything?" "Look, I could kick you off my land. That's my legal right. But what kind of fresh start would that be? Built on someone else's heartbreak. This place clearly means something to you. And honestly, I could use partners who know what they're doing. I've got savings for improvements, but I don't have experience with horses. Seems like we could help each other." The twins looked at each other in that way siblings do, having an entire conversation without words. Finally, Rachel spoke up. "We'd have to work out the details. Put everything in writing. We've learned our lesson about assumptions and verbal agreements." "Absolutely," Tom agreed. "We'll get a proper contract drawn up. Everything legal and clear. Fair wages, profit sharing on the horse sales. And you'd have housing here for as long as the partnership works. If it doesn't work out, we'd have clear terms for ending it with proper notice." Over the next few hours, Tom got the full tour of the property. He saw the 6 horses Rachel and Rebecca had been training, a beautiful quarter horses with good bloodlines. He saw the improvements they'd made on a shoestring budget, the careful maintenance of buildings that should have been falling apart. "Dad always said this land had good bones," Rebecca said as they walked the fence line. "He'd be devastated to know we lost it, but I think he'd be happy to know it's going to someone who'll take care of it." "We'll take care of it together," Tom corrected gently. When Tom's daughter Katie arrived the following week, she was skeptical at first. At 17, she'd been through enough upheaval in her young life, via losing her mother, watching her father work himself to exhaustion, moving away from her friends. But Rachel and Rebecca won her over quickly, teaching her to ride, involving her in the horse training, treating her like family. 6 months later, Mitchell Ranch was thriving. Tom had used his construction skills to build a proper training arena and renovate the barn. The twins' horse training operation had expanded, with people coming from 3 counties over to buy their well-trained animals. Katie had bloomed in the mountain air, finding purpose in the work and friendship in the 2 women who'd become like aunts to her. One evening, Tom and the twins sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and purple. The horses grazed peacefully in the pasture, and Katie's laughter drifted from the barn where she was settling the animals for the night. "You know," Rachel said thoughtfully, "when we saw you pull up that first day, we thought it was the end of everything. Our last connection to Dad, gone. Our whole lives upended again." "Instead, it was a beginning," Rebecca added. "Not the one we planned, but maybe a better one." Tom smiled. sipping his coffee. Life has a funny way of working out. I came here looking for a fresh start and found a family business instead. Sometimes the best things come from what looks like disaster. Dad used to say something similar, Rachel said softly. He'd say that when one gate closes, look for the open pasture. Took us a while to see it, but you were open pasture, Tom. As the stars began to appear in the vast Montana sky, Tom thought about the twisting path that had brought them all here. A foreclosure that shouldn't have happened, an auction that separated a family from their legacy, and a chance encounter that turned strangers into partners. Life wasn't always fair, but sometimes, if you were willing to look beyond the letter of the law to the spirit of kindness, you could find solutions that blessed everyone involved. The ranch that was meant to be his alone had become something richer, a shared dream, a blended family, and a testament to the idea that the best fresh starts are the ones you build together.